Hey guys, Alex from 7th Hour Films back again with Star Wars The Bad Batch. Last time on The Bad Batch, we had Reunion, where Crosshair was sent to hunt down the Batch at Bracca? I think it was Bracca. And he made it there, started to hunt them down, was very cunning in how to capture them, but eventually they did start to get away, only for Cad Bane to show up and actually take Omega after a old school duel with Hunter. So yes, he has taken Omega back to, well, he's on his way back to the Kaminoans, and yeah. Also, Crosshair was injured, so yeah, it was a crazy episode, really crazy good episode, and that was the halfway point of the season. So I'll be very curious to see where we're going next. So with that said, let's go ahead and get right into this episode of Star Wars The Bad Batch. Here we go.
Make the jump.
Alright, let's get out of here. Man, he was injured and he still went after them.
Mr. Bane does not respond well to prisoners who are difficult.
Ugh, that guitar.
But when will you have time to fix my leg? It is quite inconvenient. Bane, did you hear me?
You can't fix your own leg?
Bane.
When the clone is returned, confine her to the sub-level facility. Once you have retrieved the genetic material needed, terminate her.
Wouldn't you need an ongoing source, though?
I further analyzed Omega's genetic profile and discovered she has pure first-generation DNA.
First gen.
While our genetic structure was modified for growth, acceleration, and obedience, Omega is a pure genetic replication.
How many clones like that exist?
To my knowledge, there's only one other.
Boba
A male
Fett.
clone, codenamed Alpha, later referred to as Boba.
So she's
Since
just
it
like
appeared
Boba
at the
Fett.
start of the war, that makes Omega the sole living source of Fett's raw genetic material.
Okay.
She's vital to me.
Great job.
Sorry,
Good job.
it's only temporary. Oh, come on, where is it? Yes!
There it is. Now, how do you get back in the cell?
What's taking so long?
Well, she just had to hide. Great. Great job.
Wait here.
Oh, she just bailed. Alright.
Is anyone there?
Omega, do you copy?
Hunter?
Keep running.
I'm here!
Next, you will need to reroute the circuits to overload the main grid.
By hook or by crook,
Ugh.
you're coming with me.
Ugh.
Omega,
Get up!
do you copy?
I still can't get a good read.
I need you!
Omega!
Oh, dang it. Well, that didn't work.
You'll soon find out.
That didn't sound
I
good.
told you you'd be sorry when my friends showed up.
No, they couldn't make it here. Huh?
Torn way?
Well, he's just dead.
She needs help!
Or she. Excuse me.
He's right.
Oh!
Fennec Shand.
Oh, Fennec versus
Hello.
Cad Bane.
You got no business messing with my score.
God, his
You
voice
of
is
all
scary
people
this
know
episode.
It's all about the price.
I have the case!
Whoop! Whoop! Oh!
The credits!
Yeah, just run! Get out of there!
Toto, find the kid.
Close the.
I'm on it!
Don't drop. You dropped the case. All right, the credits are gone. Whoop! Oh! Ooh. Okay. Well, he's down. Ugh. What is this place? This was the rendezvous point, right? I mean, yeah, so this is one of their facilities?
I think I've got her. She's in the leader system.
Okay.
Where in the leader system? I'm pinpointing the exact coordinates. Hang on.
Okay. They're at least on their way.
Why did you kill Torn Wei?
Part of the job. You should thank me. What the Prime Minister has planned for you is far worse than why I'm here.
Huh.
What does he want me for?
So is Fennec hired by
You
someone
already know
else?
the answer.
You are coming with me.
Tuh. Something's bursting out of there.
It's too late for that. It's time to go, Omega.
Whoop! Ooh. Ew.
Playtime's over,
Ah.
little lady.
Whoop! Ooh! Really? How did that even work? She had the helmet. Oh! Damn!
Going for the flight pod.
The freaking thing. Why can't this thing
Will not
die?
get you very far.
Just, like, kick it! Thank you! Whoop! Alright, we're borrowing you. Toto didn't think this through. Meanwhile... Oh! This is the greatest fight Cad Bane's ever been in.
Where do you think you are going?
What are you gonna do? Bye!
You'll be sorry.
Alright, just get out of there. Oh! Whoa! Got a flamethrower. It's got 2 flamethrowers! Whoop! Oh, he's got his jet boots. Oh, this is still Cad Bane you're dealing with. Uh-oh, she's losing it. And she hasn't passed the atmosphere. Come on. Whoop. Hunter.
Omega!
Yay!
You in there?
Oh, good.
Oh, good to have you back, kid.
Yay, let's get out of here.
They appear to have been sabotaged.
Ah, Fennec. She's good. Ah, he's pissed.
As long as she is not in the hands of Lamasu, she is safe. I will
Okay.
transfer your payment.
If you change your mind, you know how to reach me.
Interesting.
If I'm as valuable as you say, Lama Su will keep sending bounty hunters after me.
He can send everyone in the galaxy. You have us. You are never going back to Camino.
Promise?
I promise.
Aww. Alrighty. Alrighty. That is episode 9. So, an interesting episode. Definitely an interesting episode. I mean, interesting continuation to this, like, almost a 3-parter, you know? Kind of. It's sort of, you know? So, yeah. So, they've got their different experiments going. Now, the whole thing with, like, okay, I get it. Omega... And I like how they say that that Boba Fett, his original name is Alpha, so he's Alpha and she is Omega. That is pretty cool. So I wouldn't have thought of that Boba Fett and Omega are the only two in existence that they're the only two clones in existence that are pure, which is interesting. And it makes sense, because I remember there was one thing is like, Boba Fett is an unaltered clone. Like, I just didn't think about how important that would be, and especially without Jango Fett there. Now that was I thought that was something in the Clone Wars, was they had to be careful because there was only so much of Jango Fett's genetic code that they could use. Like, it was starting to deteriorate. Though I would imagine that using Boba Fett or Omega, it would still be different even if they made clones from them, So yeah, but it's still a very interesting idea. Now, their whole thing has been the fact that they need to... Their whole thing has been the fact that they need to get Omega back to make new clones, basically, to prove to the Empire why clones should still be, in service, basically. Instead of conscripting stormtroopers, you need a clone army. So we're still not entirely sure what Lama Su's idea is. What exactly is it? Because I guess it could be that, if they're more purified clones, maybe that could be it. But I don't know. I'm not sure exactly what... we just can't be sure. We can't be sure what exactly their plan is, other than they just need the pure genetic Jango Fett that resides within Omega, So, yeah, that's pretty interesting. So, yeah, but we do have some interesting things confirmed. One is that Fennec Shand has been hired by Nala Se, whereas Cad Bane was hired by Lama Su. All these freaking names are crazy. But, yeah, so that's a pretty interesting distinction, and Lama Su will send as many bounty hunters as he can to get Omega back. But Nala Se has now decided that it's okay for Omega to be with the Bad Batch. I would imagine she originally sent Fennec to get Omega so that she would at least have control over Omega, whereas now it's just a matter of keeping Omega away from Lama Su, which is interesting. So just an interesting sort of dynamic, and a good dynamic between the bounty hunters, So I like that. Let's see. And yeah, pure Gen 1 was the next thing I wrote down. Again, just an interesting idea, that she is pure, basically, among the clones, So essentially, she would be Boba Fett's sister, basically, and Jango Fett's daughter, which is interesting. So, yeah, which, I mean, we've always kind of had the whole thing of, well, all the clones really are just brothers, In a sense, every clone is technically a son of Jango Fett, Of course, that makes... Well, does that slightly screw with the relationship between Omega and Hunter? I don't know. I mean, it's definitely... They definitely have more of a father-daughter bond than a brother and sister bond, definitely. Like, the others in the Bad Batch are more brother-like, but Hunter has specifically become a father figure for Omega, which is interesting. Which I do like, when everything's, like, kind of going down, she calls out for Hunter specifically. Because that's the thing. He really has become her father, So, yeah. But anyway, just the idea that, and especially because, they say there was a clone named Alpha who later became known as Boba. And so the two of them basically are near identical. They're near identical in their genetic makeup as pure clones, which is pretty cool. So I like that. Let's see. We had the whole thing with the droid with Toto, which was pretty funny. Just, tricking him into getting out, which was pretty good. Very crafty on Omega's part. I did like that. And then, yeah, she just sort of bailed. And then we got Fennec Shand versus Cad Bane, which was a really good fight. Now, I must say, I don't know if they specifically did anything different with this fight, but this fight felt a lot more weighted. And that has always kind of been one of the problems with the Clone Wars, really just all the Star Wars animated shows, the 3D animated shows specifically, that every time there was a fight, more of a physical fight, not really the lightsabers or the blasters, but more when there was a physical fight, one problem they've always had is it's never felt weighted, you know? That has kind of been a problem. It never feels weighted. It feels like, two cartoons throwing each other, basically. Like, it never feels like, no, these are two people that are actually colliding. But this time it did feel like that. So I don't know if it's just that, their animation and their techniques have gotten so much better over the years or what. But this one, like, when they are, like, hitting each other and throwing each other into walls, it really, like, I can kind of feel it, It wasn't perfect, but I could feel it. Like, it felt like, okay, these are hits, These people are solid and they are hitting each other, Like, that's the thing. So that was really, really good. And then just the fight itself between Cad Bane and Fennec Shand was just really, really great, just this very interesting... I mean, it was very much a sort of Western sort of fight, using their blasters and then eventually getting into fisticuffs and stuff. So that was really good. So this was a specific other cloning facility that it seemed to be disused. But yeah, so they had, all those people in tubes, or as Omega would say, tubes. So yeah, they had everyone, in those experiments in the tubes, and that was kind of interesting, and it reinforces, it basically gives Omega the fear, she doesn't want to become that, basically. Now it's interesting because, the design of the one that Omega basically dropped on Fennec Shand, that one was it was interesting because it kind of looked Kaminoan, actually. It didn't look like a human. It looked Kaminoan. But to an extent, I will say it also did kind of look like Snoke, Like, it kind of makes you wonder if that was just sort of an Easter egg, or if that is going to be explored a bit more. Because we've had... I don't remember, was it in this series or was it in another series? I thought... Oh, no. It was in The Mandalorian. That was it. And we won't go into this in case any of you haven't seen The Mandalorian, but there is sort of this idea, they basically bring up there's something with cloning, basically. And hopefully that's not too much of a spoiler if you haven't seen The Mandalorian, but basically they basically see something and it's like, oh, okay, well, that's kind of weird, and then they sort of move on. But you can sort of speculate off of that. And this sort of makes me speculate, maybe this is sort of the tie-in to the Empire creating Snoke, basically Palpatine creating his backups, basically, which eventually leads into The Rise of Skywalker. Spoilers, I guess, if you haven't seen The Rise of Skywalker, where Palpatine is a clone. So yeah, I wonder if it could sort of be like that. I'm not sure. I don't know if they're going that could be kind of interesting, because the Kaminoans, they are losing their importance, and we know, again, spoilers if you haven't seen past this far, but I'm pretty sure everyone has at least seen the original trilogy. The Stormtroopers are not clones, The clones are abandoned, and it does switch to a conscripted military for the Stormtroopers. So it does sort of bring up the question, maybe that's what the Kaminoans start to do, is they start to, do this project by Palpatine in order to create different clones, maybe different versions of Snoke, different versions of Palpatine, all that sort of stuff. So it could be any sort of thing with that, or Maybe it could be, again, Rise of Skywalker spoilers. Maybe that could be how they lead into Palpatine basically having a son who would end up being Rey's father. It could be something like that. And I know this is Rise of Skywalker we're talking about, the classic Disney didn't have a plan. They didn't think any of this through. However, I have pretty much ever since, I guess kind of since The Last Jedi, even though I do like The Last Jedi, most of it, Canto Bight, Holdo, whatever. But a lot of, there is a lot of good stuff, I always say. There is a lot of good stuff in The Last Jedi, but still, it was very obvious there was no plan there. And definitely when you watch Rise of Skywalker, it's like, okay, they didn't have a fucking plan. And that's how Rise of Skywalker becomes the giant mess that it is. However, I have wanted to see how Dave Filoni would tackle the sequels. And not Resistance. That business on Star Wars Resistance doesn't count. I actually, fun fact, or maybe not so fun fact, depending on how you look at it, I could not get through Star Wars Resistance. I got a little bit into the second season and gave up because I was so bored. I couldn't do it. But yeah. Anyway. But I've always wanted to see how Dave Filoni would honestly tackle the sequels with something like Clone Wars or Rebels or now with The Bad Batch. So maybe I feel like between something like this and stuff that happens in The Mandalorian, maybe they are starting to, I feel like Star Wars is starting to inch their way over and start making stuff with the sequels. And I'd be very curious about that, So I'm wondering if maybe it was just an old Kaminoan clone and it is designed, or maybe it is human and it's just a very strange clone that was sort of just abandoned. We don't really know, but I would be curious if maybe that's sort of, the lead in to the cloning with something like Snoke or Palpatine, or maybe that brings in, Palpatine's son. Pretty much ever since Rise of Skywalker, people have asked, who banged Palpatine, but maybe it's not like that. Maybe he had a clone son, like how Omega and Boba Fett are technically the clone children of Jango Fett, but he didn't have them technically biologically. They are cloned children, basically. So if maybe we're going to that, that'd be interesting, but I could also see maybe they're kind of teasing it and then we move on because this show is about the Bad Batch. This isn't about Kamino, this is about the Bad Batch, So either way, I still say, it opens up some very interesting doors. We'll see if we go through those doors in this series or not. Let's see. And then, we got the whole thing where Fennec was hired by Nala Se to pretty much to keep Omega safe. And Nala Se has basically deemed that anywhere that's not Kamino is safe, basically. So it is okay for Omega to be with the Bad Batch. So that's at least good. It seems like Fennec and the Batch won't really be coming into conflict again. So, yeah. And then we had the escape, Omega escaping in one of the flight pods and then being saved by the Bad Batch. And then, the whole thing, Lama Su and Nala Se, the conflict between them, and poor Tanway? I think it was Tanway specifically. Poor Tanway, she ended up dying there. I do also apologize for, I did misgender her in the reaction. I'm sorry. It's Star Wars aliens. They're... Oh, well, I mean, I was going to say, it's like, it's really difficult, but I don't know. Well, also, if I ever say dude, just assume that's not gender specific, by the way. Because that actually happened on a Doctor Who episode where I was like, this dude is crazy. And it turned out to be a female alien. And people were kind of joking about that. And I was joking along with them in the comments. So if I say like dude or brah or even kind of bro, I would still say is not really gendered. Even guy, to an extent, I would say is not gendered. So, yeah. But apologies to Tanway. So... may she rest in peace. But at least I guess she's not at the center of the conflict with Lamasu and Nalasé. These fucking ridiculous names, man. Sometimes you just have to take a step back in Star Wars and be like, these are the dumbest fucking names, you know? Anywho, I guess that's basically that. Nothing else really to talk about. Very good episode, very interesting. I'm curious to see where we're going next time, as well as where we are going in the future of Star Wars. Sounded more dramatic than I probably meant that to be. With all that being said, I'm Alex from 7th Hour Films, and I will see you guys next time. Take care. Alright guys, thanks for watching this video. If you want to watch more of my Star Wars The Bad Batch reactions, there is a link on screen to the playlist for that. There's also another link to my Clone Wars Season 7 reactions if you haven't checked out any of those. There's also a subscribe button and a Patreon button, as well as other links in the description, so you can go check those out. See you guys later.